Let's sit in a comfortable meditation posture and close the eyes. Put our attention on the silence that's always there, deep in the mind. This silence is your connection to who you really are. This silence is the silent witness. You are the silent witness. Connect with that silence and become that silence. View the world from the perspective of the silent witness. Listen to the words of the Yoga Vasishtha, Book 4, Chapter 56, continuing with verse 47. Corporeality is to be shunned as a hellhound feeding on dog meat. After the cloud of corporality disappears from view, the light of spirituality will appear. After the clouds of corporal desires disperse, the pure light of spirituality presents the appearance of bright moonbeams of holiness. It is by the help of this light that the spiritual person is able to steer across the ocean of this world. This light of spirituality is the effulgence of Krishna. That exists always beyond this universe, illuminating the universe and serving as a beacon for everyone in the universe to return home to Goloka. Rama, remain in that best and blessed state in which the wisest, blessed, and holiest of men have found their rest. It is the constant habit of thinking yourself as nothing and not doing anything, or that you are all things and are doing everything as the Supreme Soul knows itself to be, or that you are some person having a personality of your own and yet nobody. Chapter 57, the question of duality again deferred. First, avoid desire. Rama said, "Your words, O Brahman, are true and well spoken. I find the soul to be the inactive agent of actions, the impassive recipient of their effects, and the spiritual cause of the corporeal. I find the soul to be the sole Lord of all, and omnipresent in its course. It has the nature of consciousness and the form of transparency. It resides in all bodies as the five elements compose the bodies of land and sea. Now I come to understand the nature of Brahma. I am as pacified by your speech as the heated mountain is cooled by rainwater. From its seclusion and unwillingness, the soul neither does not receive anything, but its universal action of pervading makes it both the actor and sufferer. But sage, there is a question, too vivid and irritating in my mind. I pray you remove it by your enlightened speech, as moonbeams dispel the darkness of night. Tell me, sage, where do these dualities come from? There is the reality of one and the unreality of the other, and that this is I, and that is not me. If the soul is one and indivisible, how is this one thing and that another? There being but one self-existent and self-evident soul from the beginning, how does it become subject to these opposites? Like the bright disk of sun comes to be hidden under clouds. Vashishta answered, Ram, I will give the correct answer to this question of yours when I come to my conclusion. Then you will learn the cause of these dualities. Ram, you will not be able to comprehend my answers to these questions until you become acquainted with my solution to the questions of liberation. Only an adult youth can appreciate the beauty of a love song. So it is that only a holy man can grasp the sense of what I say about these abstruse subjects. Sayings of such great importance are as fruitless with ignorant people as a work on erotic subjects is useless to children. There is a time and a season for every subject for men. Just as autumn produces the harvest and not spring. The preaching of a sermon is selectable for old men, but fine colorings are suitable for clean canvas. So a spiritual discourse of deep sense suits one who has known the Spirit. A little earlier, I mentioned something which may serve to answer your question, although you have not fully comprehended its meaning. When you come to know the Spirit in your own spirit, you will doubtlessly come to find the answer to your question by yourself. I will fully expound on the subject of your question at the conclusion of my argument, when you have arrived at a better knowledge of these things. The spiritual man knows the Spirit in his own spirit, and it is the good grace of the Supreme Spirit to manifest itself to the spirit of the spiritual man. Rama, I have already described the argument concerning the agent, agency, and inertness of the soul. Yet it is your ignorance of this doctrine that makes you foster doubts. The man bound to his desires is a bondsman, and one freed from them is said to be set free from his slavery. Cast away your desires, and you will have no cause to seek freedom. First, forsake your foul desires. Then be free from your desire of worldly possessions. Then foster your better wishes. And at last, incline to your pure and holy learning. After having conducted yourself with pure desires, get rid of even these at the end. Then, being freed from all desires, be inclined towards and united with your intellect. Then renounce your intellectual propensity, together with your mental and conscious inclinations. And finally, having reached the state of settled tranquility, get rid of your mind, and also in order to set yourself free from all other desires. Be an intellectual being and continue to breathe your vital breath, but keep your imagination under control and take no account of the course of time or the revolution of days and nights. Forsake your desire for objects of sense and root out your sense of individual ego, which is the root of desire. Let your understandings be calm. And quiet, and you will be honored by all. Drive away all feelings and thoughts from your heart and mind, for he who is free from anxieties is superior to all. Let a man practice his samadhi trance or other sorts of intense meditation or not. He is reckoned to have attained his liberation, whose elevated mind has lost its reliance on worldly things. The man devoid of desires has no need to observe or avoid pious acts. The freedom in his mind from dependence on anything is sufficient for his liberation. What Vasishtha is describing is the experiences on the path to moksha. He is not giving a technique for achieving moksha. This can be confusing when read literally as he is presenting it. He says, first forsake your foul desires. Then be free from your desire of worldly possessions. Now, this is not something one can do directly. It is impossible for someone to literally forsake desires directly. Desires arise in the mind from karmic traces. You cannot get away from karmic traces. You can't just leave them and go somewhere else. They're part of you. Just like you can't get away from your arm or your hand or your leg or your foot. It is a part of your body. You must bring it with you. So it is literally impossible for anyone to follow this as a literal instruction. First, forsake your foul desires. What Vasishtha is saying is, first, your foul desires will be forsaken. He's not telling you to first forsake your foul desires. He's saying, first, your foul desires will be forsaken. First, what does that mean? That means when you begin the practice of balancing your karmic traces through deep meditation, through dharana, dhyana, sanyama, and trimana sanyama. These are powerful techniques for balancing karmic traces. When you begin that practice, the first thing will happen is your foul desires will disappear. Those things that are clearly in your life not helping you, not serving you to achieve higher states of consciousness, but dragging you deeper into worldliness, into the connection with the illusion. because those things are on the surface. Beneath those karmic traces is the desire of owning things. You know, today we have the Great Reset being imposed upon humanity. And one of the principles of the Great Reset is you will own nothing and be happy. This is a perfect example of fake spirituality, the inverse of what we wish to accomplish. This is accomplished by the Great Reset, by taking away all of your physical possessions. The United Nations and the World Economic Forum want to take away your automobile. They want to take away your house. They want to take away your furniture. They want to take away everything that you claim to own, so that you will be totally dependent on the government for everything. They do not wish you to have any independence from the government. This is not what Vasista is talking about here. He's not saying that you will literally own nothing and be happy, like Klaus Schwab likes to say. He is saying that you will become indifferent to the objects in your environment that support your life, just as you'll become indifferent to the objects that support the operation of your automobile. They mean very little to you. The oil in the engine, it's not something that you're very interested in having and owning. You have it only because the engine in the automobile needs the oil. And most people are very happy to take whatever oil is good for their car. Doesn't have to be a particular oil. So whatever is needed for the body to function, that's what you will have. But it will have you'll have no attachment to it. Just like you'll have no attachment to the body. But this comes in stages. First, you realize you're not the body. You're not the mind. The body and mind are objects in the illusory universe that you are somehow focused on and attached to. But as moksha progresses, the body that you once claimed was your body transitions to a body, one of the bodies, one of the people on the surface of the earth. It has more familiarity to you than the body of your neighbor or the body of someone living in another country that you may have talked to once on the telephone. But that's all, just a greater familiarity. But the familiarity that you have is very superficial. When you appreciate the nature of the body as an expression of divine creative intelligence, literally the miracle of life, then you see that same miracle of life in everybody. And your body loses its importance in that regard. So like this in stages, we appreciate deeper values in every object. And that deeper value unites all objects and takes away their specialness. And simultaneously adds something special and unique to every object. Every object is formed of the intention and consciousness of the divine. Now we will continue as the silent witness. Practice Trimana Sanyama to balance all the karmic traces that have been activated and touched by today's reading. Jai Gurudev.